Hello, everyone. I thought I would talk about, and perhaps read a few passages from my book, Symphony of Perdition, which is a book that was published at the beginning of 2020, written in 2019. And it is what you might call a psychological thriller. It's about this man, Sam, whose wife, Susan, is suffering from depression and he doesn't know what to do about it. And then her father, who is a psychiatrist, comes to visit to help her, but then it turns out that the father is very cynical about her condition and how he can help her for various reasons. And I just thought I would read to you a few passages where he talks about that. So here is the conversation between the father and her husband. You seem troubled. That's because I am, in a manner of speaking, Edward responded. What are you worried about? Susan, for one. I didn't want to say anything in front of her, but yesterday she seemed to be regressing back to her old ways, Edward said, placing his cigarette on the table. What do you mean? As a child, Susan was always very fragile. When other children played outside, she would stay inside, almost terrified to go out. She seemed to be afraid of almost everything, including me. At first I couldn't understand it, or perhaps I didn't want to understand it. Either way, the result remained the same. Over the years, she turned on me, her own father, and without any explanation whatsoever. One moment she was my daughter, and the next moment she was an absolute stranger to me. After graduating college, she appeared to calm down, but now, like before, her peculiar behavior has returned, Edward proclaimed, his voice sounding somewhat raspy. What are you going to do about it? This might sound a little extreme, and perhaps it is, but I think it would be better if Susan came home with me. Under these conditions, I simply can't treat her. The local drugstore, not surprisingly, does not have the proper medicine, and unless I get her back to my office, I won't be able to treat her, Edward said, sounding alarmed. Why do you need to treat her at all? Sammy, there are things in this world that are better left unsaid. Susan was, is, and will continue to be a beautiful soul, but she's plagued by a malady of the mind. She's 35 years old, the same age her mother was when she died. Like Susan, Margaret suffered from the same malady. At the time, of course, I was an inexperienced doctor, capable of little more than providing diagnosis. But over the last few years, I've learned so much about medicine, about therapy, and about how to deal with the mentally disturbed. I can help her, but only on my terms, Edward uttered, conviction in his voice. You still haven't told me what's wrong with her, Sam replied, growing increasingly frustrated. The less you know, the better things will be for you, for Susan, and for me, Edward grunted. It might be better for you, but it's definitely not better for me. I'm her husband after all, and I have a right to know about the health of my wife. In fact, as her husband, I'm more responsible for her than you are, Sam voiced, sliding his hand across the table. Is something, Edward, is something wrong? My dear boy, the whole world is wrong. I wish I could make you understand, but this is my burden to bear, not yours. If I told you everything I know, you would never look at me, or Susan for that matter, the same way again. One day, very soon, you might be able to handle the truth, but as things stand, you're simply not ready, Edward exclaimed, removing his hand from his face. And when will I be ready? Before she can be cured, Susan must know everything about her past, gruesome details and all. Without a doubt, it will be painful for her, and perhaps even a little traumatic. But it's necessary, I'm afraid. All of these years I've tried to spare her from the truth, but I can't anymore. For her own peace of mind, as well as my own, she must know, he proclaimed. Know about what? About her origins. And that just gives you a little detail about the tension that's going on in the book about this dreadful secret that the father is afraid to reveal about his daughter, Susan. And so, of course, and that brings about the main conflict and tension in the book.